All right, so welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where we're here to live a life on purpose, to flourish and be filled in all areas of our life. So last week, we kind of left a cliffhanger for everybody with the divine channels. And we were about to get into a beautiful topic called All About the Energy.
Oh,
Yeah, what this really hit for me was like, people don't remember what you say. They remember how they feel inside of your presence.
mhm.
And so I wanted to deep dive into that discussion and all about the energy.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, there's a little story that goes along with that, where that came from. So that may be important. I was a professional drummer for a long time, many years, decades. And one day, 10 years ago or so, roughly, um, maybe 8 years. But anyway, I'm in my little practice studio and I'm practicing much like I've done tens of thousands of times over several decades. Like nothing is going on, right? Just got a song I'm listening to. I'm working on a specific thing, which is technical and difficult for me. So there's a lot of concentration and effort present. And a little bit of frustration, like it's not going particularly well. I'm just kind of muzzling through it. It's not going well. Uh, and all of a sudden, I bust out laughing, like loud, hard, like real laughing. And I'm both enjoying it and completely surprised because it doesn't feel like me. I'm laughing, but it doesn't feel like me laughing. And I have no idea what I'm laughing at. And then I yell something. And what I yell is, it's all about the energy. Now I'm by myself, so luckily I don't, I'm not going to be arrested by mental health professionals or anything. But so I'm laughing, and then intermittently I stop laughing long enough to yell, it's all about the energy. Now, while all this is going on, I'm still practicing. So I'm still got headphones on, I have a little electronic drum set, and I'm practicing something. And this sort of image shows up, sort of holographic, kind of, I don't know. And over here is kind of this sort of elongated egg shape, but what's important about it is it's like yellow and orange and kind of pulsing and really attractive, like it's attracting. And then over here, same thing, except it's kind of blue and purple and kind of cold. Yeah, so this is cold and this is warm. And as I'm intermittently laughing and yelling all about the energy, I assume I yelled that probably somewhere between 10 and 15 times over several minutes. It was weird. It's hard to know for sure. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird experience. But anyway, so now as I lean in towards the right, towards the yellow orange, this thing that I'm working on that's beyond my capacity and comfort level, all of a sudden becomes incredibly easy and simple. And all the effort drops from my arms and all the concentration drops away, and I'm just like flowing. It's like so it's very welcome and very puzzling at the same time. And then I lean back over here towards the blue and purple, and the old feeling of constraint, frustration, effort reappears. Like, hmm. And then I bring my attention back over here, and it's ease and flow. So I'm testing it, like, is this really the fucking thing? So I'm testing it. It's like, this is the thing, right? So this is the thing. While I'm laughing and yelling periodically, it's all about the energy. Like, yeah. So this is the music thing's going on, the speaking and laughing going on, and I'm observing the thing going, what is going on here? And digging the whole thing. Like, hey, this is quite a ride. That's quite a story I'm gonna
Yeah.
have. So then I start getting interested in the musical benefit of it. Like, this is something I've been working on for a long time, and it's like a high level thing that musically that I'm working on.
Mhm.
And it's like I've unlocked the gate to learning how to play anything. Almost felt like this magical, like boom. So I didn't want to lose it, right? So I'm going back and forth, testing it real good. I don't want to stop because I'm thinking, man, if I stop, I'm going to lose this thing. So I just stay with it for seems like forever, probably like one song. But
Mhm.
anyway, so I'm finally satisfied that I've dialed in whatever I experienced, whatever there is to dial in and experience, and I stop. and I'm puzzled. I'm not scared, or it's not weird, but I am like really puzzled. I'm enjoying the whole thing, but like, what the heck is this, right? So then I step over out of my drum set to my little table there, my little desk, and then I laugh hardest yet, and I yell the loudest yet. It's all about the energy. So when I said all, the way I said all, I knew what I was talking about was these new circumstances that I found myself in, which was end of a relationship, end of a career, and I was going to move. So I'm literally losing everything that was important to me while being terrified and having no answers and being deeply in debt and no source of income and feeling very alone, right? So I was heading into this space. And so I was very clear that the all that was being referred to was my life circumstances.
Wow.
So it's like the lesson got taught to me in a language I could understand, music, and taught to me in a way that I could understand it. Hey, here's something you can't do. Now you can do it. Now you can't. Now you can. Now you do it. Do you got it? It's like very, very clean lesson. Like, okay, yes, I got it. It's all about the energy. Now I got that. Right. It's all about the energy. I got it. And then it's like, okay, now look at your entire life. So that's, so I've had this thing inside of me, all this phrase, this world, it's all about the energy, and that's the event that this points to.
Mhm.
And so now, so that's the background. Now you had a specific angle on your question. Could you bring me back to that so I can answer your question the way it was presented?
Let me try to tap into that.
It was something about maybe the way we're impacting people with our energy. I think maybe that's where you're.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I don't have the direct question that I had previously.
Okay.
What I do have now though is how to perceive the relationship between energy and your emotions and how they impact people.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I don't know that I've really combed through that in detail. Energy and emotions. Energy and emotions.
Because in this day and age, a lot of people are following their emotions, and they are,
Yeah.
this new age stuff is like energy work and all these different things. And I want to get a clear distinction between the two.
Well, I don't want to
Because
confuse what most people call work, like when you say energy work, right? I
yeah,
believe there's such thing as energy work. I believe that that's true. I might
yes,
have been the source of it or participated in it possibly, but I also believe about 98% of people who utter those words have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe
yeah,
90%. Depending on what mood you catch me in, somewhere between 90 and 98% of people who talk about, I do energy work, have no clue what they're talking about, in
yeah,
my experience and opinion. So I don't want to conflate what we're talking about with what gets said, how it gets said, because what we're talking about isn't
isn't that?
what most people say when they say, I do energy work. Yeah. So it's,
Yeah.
take a stand for rigor there.
Yes.
um, so I am interested in this idea of how your energy affects people, and maybe as I explore that, we can get to energy and emotion. So
Okay.
as I'm so part of the difficulty in distinguishing the two could be that we're using both words in different ways in different contexts. So I think that's part of why it's not obvious to distinguish the two. But let's take a couple steps here. So the energy that I'm speaking of in this context is not emotive necessarily. It's just the sort of I used to talk about this thing called your leadership energy signature. So your energy signature. So your energy signature is the vibe that you have that's unique to you. Once people know you, they can recognize your vibe. Like I have a style of playing music, and as people have gotten to know me, they can hear something and they go, oh, that sounds like you. Like they can hear my energy in something, or I'll lead or speak a certain way, and someone else will do that. And anyway, so we all have our unique energy signature, our unique vibe that's like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
Unlike a fingerprint, we've got something to say with what it feels like. Possibly that could be debated, but I'm gonna stand that ground for a minute. So, unlike a fingerprint, I get to say something about, do I want my energy signature to be, for most of my life, I wanted my energy signature to be tough, unapproachable, and intimidating.
Mhm.
And that's because I grew up getting picked on and I grew up in rough neighborhoods. And it was very profitable for me to have that energy signature. It may have saved my life on multiple occasions. It may have kept me out of trouble on multiple occasions. Once I adopted that, I never had another man put their hand on me again in an aggressive way. So there was a clear fruit, a clear result from this way of being. And it was the one I was absolutely going for. It was a survival mechanism born out of fear. So that's an energy signature. Now, I have something to say about that. And I don't want, in my current life, my current circumstances, I don't want that energy signature, whereas once I did. Now, I have access to it. I can turn on tough, intimidating, and whatever I said before, disconnected or whatever.
Yeah.
I can turn it on, no problem. It's available to me, but it's not something I choose to lead with anymore. I don't need to, my circumstances don't demand it or pull for it, and then it's also not my choice. So inside and outside, from the inside, from the outside, I've chosen that that signature, that energy signature is no longer what I want to, how I choose to present myself to the world, right? So I've said, oh, this is really good. I've had to have this whole conversation about your physical presentation being a match for your commitment.
Yeah.
Right. If you were committed to spreading the word of God, but you dress like Satan, that would be a discordance that would make it more difficult for people to hear your word of God. And vice versa, if you were preaching Satan, but you dress like Jesus, that would be that would be discordant, right? So in the same way, so I now see this is like a new thing I'm seeing. Energy signature is the energetic clothing, the presentation you put on for the world. Now, most people use presentation inauthentically, like wear masks to be nice or to be tough, like I used to do, or whatever, to survive the world, something we learned from our childhood. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about like an artist with a brush and a palette of many colors going, we're gonna put a little red on this today, and I think a little purple, and a little shimmer here, and oh yeah, cool. So that's how we roll it today, right? And so I can create an energy signature of generosity or grace or patience or intimacy or connectedness or faith or surrender or love. I can create that. In fact, I'm literally generating it and experiencing the impact of being in that space as I'm saying. I can actually feel it.
Yeah.
So, the energy in a way that's all about I think I believe I've had many years to interpret this. I believe one of the interpretations of this event that happened in my life, it's all about the energy, is that is this awareness of this energy signature that we're presenting to the world at all times, and it absolutely impacts people.
Yeah.
And some people's energy signature brings them hell over and over again. Victim, villain, manipulative, you know, whatever, predator of some sort. And then they live the life of someone who has that signature. Like John talks about the dog that goes into a room. One dog goes into a room and comes out all pissed off. The other dog goes into the same room, comes out all happy. Well, what's in the room? It's full of mirrors. The unhappy dog saw an unhappy dog and became unhappy. The happy dog saw a happy dog and became happy. So in the same way, our energy signature impacts the world, which then feeds back. We're going today. We're going with
Feeds back. Feeds
Okay.
back.
That's the official answer today. until a correction coming my way.
It's all about the energy, guys.
It's all about it. And so this, be the change you wish to see, because when you're that change comes back to you. Give what you want to get, because when you give that, it comes back to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything you need is within you now. Like, for example, your opportunity to be responsible for the energy signature that you're putting out. Like, if I wear a t-shirt that says "fuck you," and I walk out into like a really conservative family area, that signature is going to impact my experience in that environment. People are going to be looking at me all, hey, who the fuck are you? Right. And so,
Yeah.
but that's what people are doing all the time. They are not present to, and therefore not responsible for, not responding ably to their energy signature or the impact of what an energy signature could have, because it's not in their awareness. And so they're going through life causing a very specific experience while not having your hands on the steering.
Mm-hmm.
So the energy signature conversation is all about the energy. It gives you an opportunity to put your hands on the steering wheel. Well, what would I choose to be in the world if I had a choice? Currently, I'm choosing grace. I made that choice a few months ago, and I'm practicing. Well, I'll choose grace until further notice. So
Yeah.
the energy signature that I'm on purpose and by design emanating is grace, except when I'm not,
Yeah.
But that's the direction I'm in.
Yeah, I want to bring in what you just said there. It's like having the power of having a choice, for one. Knowing that you have a power of choice. It's not this automatic response. It's not this automatic reaction. It's you're taking time to think about your next move. And then what you also mentioned was you're tapping into this energy that you're practicing and that you're applying to your life. It doesn't mean that you don't mess up or, like not
Definitely does
be
not
that.
mean that.
Yeah, it does not mean that. It just means that you're practicing this way of being and that now you're able to tap into that when it's needed the most. And I love what you did last night with one of our participants in the Visionary Leadership Program. We're met with versions of ourselves through another human being. And how are we going to respond to an old version of ourselves when we don't like what's being brought back to us? When somebody's in a lot of pain and they're hurting and they're coming to us and they're pointing the finger at us, how are we going to respond to that? And so I love bringing that in here is what habits did you create and what practices did you create to help maintain that energy that you're practicing right now? Like you said, it's grace. So
The first answer, and I'm not sure how to give this away, maybe just the awareness of it. But the first answer is I made it a really big deal for me. When I said I'm going to be grace, I wasn't choosing a dessert for tonight's dinner. Something of little or no consequence. I was choosing how I'm going to experience life and how I'm going to practice and experiment. I'm like experimenting with something new to fulfill my covenant which is heaven on earth and being a model for a new way to live in the world, with other people interdependently and with love and, wisdom. And so, those sorts of promises or commitments that I make bring when I make that type of promise, the whole world of my covenant with God is active. So it's not, which is different than when I promise somebody I'll see you tomorrow for lunch. I mean, I'm deeply committed to that too, but it's not the same thing. And so my first answer is I'll make it be a big deal, like really a big um in my leadership training and me getting trained long ago, I noticed that there were some people who were fun to work with, and there were some people who were scary and like really effective. So when you had an issue and you wanted to just have fun with it, you would go to most people, and then you got to say, you've been working on it. And, it's like that became part of the narrative. Oh, I got the 3 coaches already, right? But you're avoiding the quiet coach in the background who is going to handle this stuff, right? And so I noticed that, and so I just got myself lost in the story.
It's a big deal.
Yes. So I noticed that around certain people, I would bring my very best, and around certain people, I would not.
Mm-hmm.
Certain people expected my very best and would let me know on no uncertain times when that's not what was present. And so somehow this covenant, um, this energy signature I choose to be, whether it's grace or whatever, is connected to that. It's I've seen the power I've seen the power in others, like being the observer and seeing the power in others of just being powerfully who you are. I see most people shape shifting and juking and jiving and cracking jokes and shooting smiles and winks and cute little phrases. And I have no respect for any of that. I mean, I have compassion for it. That was me once, but when I run across somebody who knows who they are, they know where they're going, they understand the darkness that they've come from, and they understand the power, the superpower that has derived from that particular darkness. And they're out there harnessing the power for good. And so there's something about if I were not to treat a promise like I'm going to be grace with the reverence that I treat it, there's something about that whole world that gets compromised, the whole world that I'm trying to distinguish.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean by big deal. So I guess I'm distinguishing big deal in a way that I'm attempting to distinguish big deal in a way that, it's like if you held your child over a cliff and someone said, "Hey, it's a really big deal not to drop your child." It's like that's a whole different kind of big deal than what most people are talking about. Right. So I've not been in that situation, so I can't actually speak to it, but it feels like that to me. Like big deal. And so, and then other than that, it's practice and sharing with people who I care about what I'm up to. That just reinforces more, kind of gets me locked into that thing where I can't wiggle out. Because I'm talking about it, it's public, it's not hidden. Win, lose, or fail, I'll keep learning lessons, I'll be supported, I'm not alone. In fact, people are celebrating it because people would like that energy signature over here where I am.
Yeah, now they have their eyes on it too,
Yes.
so Yeah, that's huge. That's really huge. Um, that brings in like, um, there are energy signatures that drain you, you know? So
Sure.
what are sources, like major sources for you that drain your energy? And how do you mitigate that energy?
Well, I think that's a first question. I think is pretty standard. You know, whining, complaining, being attacked, being undermined, um, shamed, gossiped about, false accusations, ridicule, all
Yeah.
the stuff we've all experienced in dysfunctional environments. Um, so there's like a long-term game and a short-term game, strategy and tactics. So the long-term game is I've been developing myself for many years to be a resource, the kind of resource that I would like to have run into. I've surrendered my old life and comforts for a life of adventure and service, and surrounded myself with like people, over decades, over time. So the long game is I've been steadily moving towards being someone who could be a resource in the environment that I would love to live in. Let me say that again. That's pretty cool. I've been developing myself for many decades to be a resource for the environment that I've longed to live in. So that's the long-term game. So I'm surrounded by people who know me and appreciate me most of the time. I get to live my life's purpose. I get to do what I do best. I get to do what I do, hopefully, as good as anybody else in the world does it. Um, and so that's a real privilege. So that's the long term. And I've had my eye on this for a very long time. Not the specificity of Costa Rica and this particular village and John specifically, but um, I knew that I was developing myself for something.
Yeah. And I really loved what you said, to be the resource
Yeah,
that you wish that you had.
yeah,
That really just like, that was a boom.
yeah,
It's relationships also are where you go to give, not where you go to
yeah,
get. And that's huge to be that. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that with what you said.
yeah. In the short term, I confront dysfunctional behavior. And I use myself as a barometer, but I'm not really confronting the dysfunction for me specifically, although I benefit from it. I confront the dysfunction because if this person doesn't grow past this, they're not going to be able to stay with us. And even let's say it's not their goal to stay with us. Well, then my next commitment is this dysfunctional behavior is obviously what they're here to transform. Because if they're doing it here with me and I'm having the experience that I'm having, um, it's inevitable that this is how this person does business and is hurting the people in their life in this way, but also living the life of someone who is this way. If you
Yeah.
have a toxic personality, among many of the evils that you get to suffer is the life of someone who has a toxic, who everybody knows is toxic, right? So people relate to differently. Right? I definitely relate to people who I expect to get attacked by. Um, so so the short term is, learning how to gracefully stand your ground, exit conversations, say no, thank you. Um, and that's all very highly situational, but the general groove is, firm and like unmoving, firm, like unmessable with, but graceful also, with grace and compassion.
So how do you recharge your own batteries, so to speak? How do you recharge your own energy and your emotional well-being when you're dealing with all this?
I'm a hardcore introvert. I like to spend lots of time by myself, just chilling and just whatever. And without that, exponentially more difficult for me. Like I require a lot of, well, I don't know if I require, I prefer a lot of regen time, especially when I'm surrounded by a lot of people and a lot of energy. And if I'm causing something, I like the constant retreat and regroup and catch my breath and, let all the energy fall away and, come back. Um, so, also what I do is I, keep looking for and finding lessons in whatever was uncomfortable or painful for me. Or if I have experience of losing or loss, or, this particular engagement didn't go the way I was committed to it going, or I experienced pain or trigger or something, then part of what I use that time for is to, find that, imagine conversations, replay conversations in my head, practice stuff in my head.
Oh, so what I just heard was being the coach to yourself from a past experience so you can learn
Yes,
the lesson and take it with you so you
yeah,
don't have to get the 2x4 or the cosmic one,
yeah,
So I
yeah.
learned my lesson. I'm good.
Yeah, there's certain kinds of thinking I don't know if I can't. It feels like I can't. It's very difficult for me with lots of people, buzzing around. You know,
Yeah.
People get loud and big about this, had the other, blah, 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 like what? Like it's a little, it's a little, uh, jo uh, jostling in here. Switch, switch, switch.
Yes, yes, yes. How do the emotional states of others around you affect your energy, and how do you navigate those influences?
Well, if I'm unconscious, they affect me a lot, and if I'm conscious, they don't affect me, but I'm very aware. So I have what I'm pretty sure is a high sensitivity. I don't know how to compare it with others, but I feel a lot of energy around me, especially when it shifts, in some way. Um, and most of my life, that's been very, very difficult. Just exhausting, like um, walking in quicksand or something.
Yeah.
Now, however, it can be overwhelming sometimes. It can be exhausting. Sometimes it does take effort, but mostly I just can kind of let it go through me, like just no resistance, just let it flow through. But it's also a superpower in that it gives me um, oftentimes it gives me great accuracy in feeling where people are at as I'm working with them and feeling the movement inside of them as we're moving through the conversation is very helpful to me to know when and what the more intimately connected I can feel the movement of what's like they're starting to move toward the light. They're starting to see it. They're starting to see it. And I drop in something else and it's like, okay, I drop something like, boom, we did it, like that. So, it's helpful in that sense. It's not 100% accurate, although it is very helpful. And so, um, I'm impacted by people's energy all the time, but I've learned to sort of turn on the letting it flow through me. Even if I get hit initially, I can kind of open up the shutters and just let it go through. Just,
Wow.
instead of like that, you know. So that's kind of how it is for me.
Wow, that's a powerful use of what to use it for when you're using the energy, even though that it might cause some discomfort or pain, you're using it as an awareness tool for a
Yes,
commitment that you have. I literally
yes,
heard the commitment for someone else's freedom. They're
yeah,
showing you where they're at. So you're using what used to be in your past as a weakness now
yeah,
as your superpower to
yes,
to now be a resource and an
yes,
influence for someone. Wow, that's
yes,
really beautiful. That's
yeah.
really beautiful.
And I would say that's really my biggest Achilles heel. I don't lose very many battles most conversations I get committed to go the way that I'm moving.
Mhm.
But the ones that I have in my world, where I chalk up as losses, almost invariably are connected to my losing that connection to letting the energy flow through me and getting hit by the energy and then reacting rather than letting it go through me and allowing the conscious pause and the regroup, you know. And so I've gotten that lesson hard in my reality 2 or 3 times in the last few years. And so I've paid attention very keenly, and this is something that I'm committed to possibly already have transformed, but I'm definitely committed to that.
Wow.
So it's not
How
like
would you
stuffing emotions down. It's like letting them flow through so I can feel it fully and be fully present and perform at my very best.
That sounds like intuition. Are you using intuition and tying that in with the energy?
Yes. I mean, I don't know what
Okay.
to call it. Intuition, listening, speaking from love. Is that an intuition class? Possibly, but
Yeah.
whatever that is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is that how has that impacted you positively and or negatively following that, listening to love or intuition or what you're pointing at right now?
Uh, Negatively, not at all, except maybe like just disoriented a little bit sometimes because it's very new. Positively, and like the weight of the world has been taken off my shoulders. And I consider myself a very strong statistician, tactician. I understand strategy, tactics, plans, big plans, little plans, backup plans. Like this is something I've really applied myself to for a very long time. I feel like I've gone quite a distance, more than
Wow.
anybody I've probably met in person, at least. Um, and and I was the CEO of Earthquake University for a while, so I had a big say in the driving of it. And one thing I can tell you is I never could have imagined a plan that would have got us where we got. And that is important.
Yeah.
That's important because if I can let that in, then I can let go that I need to be able to plan and understand everything. Because we've already far exceeded what I would have planned for us. And
Wow.
I'm a very effective and very bold planner. I scare the shit out of people with my plans. That bold, that fast, that big. Yeah, let's fucking do this. Like, that's who I am, right? Where we got to is several state changes above where I would have aimed us.
Wow.
So that, as I remind myself of that, then I can step forward without understanding something because I wouldn't be
Mhm.
here had I not done that.
Wow, and that sounds like surrender to
Yes.
like
Yeah, that
huge
was that
surrender.
was the word for a whole year for me.
Yeah.
Probably that year that
Okay, so there you go. Again,
that
another
very year.
energy,
Yes.
another stage, another way of
Yes.
being,
Yes.
and
Yes.
surrendering to being that energy. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And that is using that energy towards a vision, towards a purpose. And that
Yes.
purpose is way greater than yourself. So
Yes.
wow, so it's really all about the energy. It's really tapping into what type of energy that you want to be, and then
Yes.
surrendering everything else for what needs to happen responsibly in the moment. Wow.
This might be a good bookend for this conversation. This is a conversation I used to generate at the beginning of Awaken Life Live. And it's you're driving down the road and you got your radio on and you hear country music. And then the next song is country music song. And then the next song is a country music song. And you have an awareness that, holy smokes, I'm listening to a country music station. Now,
Mhm.
people are very blessed with intelligence, and you probably have the wherewithal and the cognition to simply alter the frequency of the radio if you would like a different type of music, you would tune to alter the frequency to the type of station that plays the kind of music you'd like to play. Like for instance, if you want to hear classic rock, you would alter the frequency of the radio to find a station that plays classic rock. And holy smokes, miracle about miracles, well, one after the other, is amazing, right? So
Yeah.
while that sounds very simple, like, Kirk, why did you take 5 minutes with that? That's not how we live our lives. We have
Yeah.
financial failure. Well, guess what station you're tuned to? Guess what energy signature you're putting out? Financial failure. Change the channel. Abusive relationships. Change the channel. Anxiety, change the channel. Depression, change the channel.
Yeah.
Create another energy signature. Cast your attention in another direction. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's another way to look at it. It's all about the energy.
Yeah. That is literally using the power of your understanding or your wisdom to direct your energy to inform your purpose and to
Yes.
motivate you towards that direction.
Yes.
That is literally to generate that is a decision to
Yeah.
choose to be something in the world. And wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Whatever have your attention on continues to grow. And that's why most people are incredibly unhappy, right? We have an epidemic of anxiety and depression and suicide. And everybody's walking around with their attention on how unhappy they are.
Yeah.
Cool. So just keep on growing. And guess what? It absolutely gets worse.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is just stick with it. Another year. Come on, we can do this.
No thanks. No thank you. Wow.
Hmm.
I really appreciate these conversations, these deep dives. This really, it impacted me just to see the difference of what a choice can make, the power of a choice can make. And it just takes one decision away,
Yeah.
from you to do something different, to recognize like it's like, where am I at? What am I putting off? What am I doing here?
Yeah.
And when you start to ask those questions, who am I? What am I about? Where am I going? Where am I headed? Like that really does click something for you. It makes you want to change. When when you actually see that you have the power of a choice and you use it and you give that up to be like, I'm going to be the power of change, that's a whole different story. So I appreciate this so much, Kirk. And there's going to be some resources for some support for you if you're on this journey and you'd like some assistance and some guidance. It'll be in the chat for you. Again, we love you and thank you and honor you for being here on this channel with us. Till next time.